so that the players will get added benefit from that. And also the sort of the philosophy that Celtic England are having nowadays in terms of, you know, discipline, determination, all these sort of key words that are coming about. It's a great opportunity for especially for the players that I work with and that I liaise with, to jump on that, and they're learning that by not only getting the experience of these coaches, but getting to play against peers, their own peers of their own age. So the individual that's with me this weekend is Shay, is a Class 10 athlete. So Class 10 is the highest of sort of standing disability that it can be. So in order for him to succeed at that class, is the same standard as world class able-bodied table tennis. So for him to be here in this environment, playing against juniors that are hitting the ball much faster than what he's probably used to, is of massive benefit for him. So this is me being down here really is to build this sort of thing up, linking them into the talent development centres, linking into high-performing coaching environments as well.
You touched on funding a little bit. Well, we didn't touch on funding
for our programme.
Yeah. Can you ever see a bit of your funding filter into the TDC programmes?
Potentially, where we kind of governed in a way is all governed around performance. It's all governed around medals, which these guys will know, sort of thing. It's all about delivering that medal target. So our target very much, so like Rio, for example, all the funding we've had for these last 4 years, it's all based around getting 5 to 7 medals at Rio, and which is massive for us because 8 years ago we got nothing. In Beijing we got 0 medals, and as a result of that, the culture needed to shift, the philosophies need to change. A performance director came in from Slovenia and installed this sort of family culture in a sense, but which everyone bought into. We created values for the programme. We went from, within 4 years, which some might say was very fast, but I think the programme grew at the time. Went from 0 medals to 4 medals in London, which was fantastic. As a result, you get more pressures. You've now delivered 4, you've now got to go and deliver more, sort of thing. So hence my position came about in terms of, okay, that's great, we'll fund you to deliver more in Rio, but we need somebody to look after the youngsters coming forwards for Tokyo. So our funding is very much around performance and that's the pressures that we're governed to deliver against, really, the targets we can deliver.
So there's nothing development specific then?
No, I mean,
from Table Tennis England, there is. You can get like a disability satellite fund, which is very similar to the school satellite. But yeah, you can get in touch with Steve Padden and different opportunities that way.
My role really would be to liaise with people like Stephen in terms of helping to grow disability within the talent development centres and the grassroots, I suppose, around the centres, try and build the centres up, get the inclusion involved.
And I think that's the route we're trying to go down now. Is I think we've worked so separately before. So myself, Sean, and so Steve Fadden looks after our disability setup. So we try to work as a team on to make sure everything is kind of joined together from a coaching and education point of view, from a club point of view, from a performance point of view, everything. So hopefully in time.
With just talk again with the youth program, we do have minimum requirements from a practice point of view, weekly practice point of view. 5 years ago, the average time spent on the table with the youth players was 6 to 8 hours a week. Some players were practicing 15 hours a week, but too many players were practicing between 6 and 8 hours a week. The players who we play against internationally are playing between 10 and 25 hours a week. So we put a minimum requirement, 10 hours a week. If they didn't make 10 hours a week, they weren't allowed in the youth squad. And initially they had to prove it. What happened was that 3/4 of the squad immediately started playing a minimum of 10 hours a week. And we found out that some of the others weren't, so we gave them a chance. And I would say for a period of time, the whole squad was playing a minimum of 10 hours a week. Some players again were playing 15, some were playing, eventually playing 20 hours a week. that was about the norm for a couple of years, and as we've gone on, most of the players now are playing more than 10 hours a week. Some players are not playing 10 hours a week. And although we stipulate they have to play 10 hours a week, we don't put it down that they won't be in the squad if they don't play 10 hours a week. So it's based on performance. When we told them they had to play 10 hours a week or they wouldn't be in the squad, virtually, well, everybody was playing 10 hours a week. It's quite interesting, the psychology of what parameters you put down, and if you say you've got to do this otherwise you're not in this squad, whether it's a swimming squad or a table tennis squad or a national team, club team, if you're not going to do the 10 hours, you're not in the squad. Eventually everyone's doing 10 hours. If you don't put that stipulation down, you know, it's recommended that you put in 10 hours minimum, then you find that some players who you would have thought would be doing it, they're not. Because they are in the squad and they are good enough to be in the squad, not because they are trying to achieve. And this is the difference between performance and being a good table tennis player. Performance is about getting even better and, you know, reaching the heights that, you know, the program's about. And we need the players to be on that program with that philosophy. And it's interesting to, we're going to have further discussions about this at the end of the season, about how we go about getting this philosophy year in, year out, year in, year out, and forcing people to do it or recommending is an issue.
Do you copy things, or is it secretive for other countries how they train their programs?
Well, yeah, I mean, we joke about that so-and-so's got the secret and stuff like that, but I mean, there's no secrets about how people should play and how many hours they're playing. How players train up for events and different things and what have you, okay, they've all got their own different ideas about what's what, but how people play, how many hours they practice, what type of practices they do, it's out there. I mean, everyone knows. It comes down to, you know, knowledge is important, but there's more knowledge available now than there's ever been. And I think, you know, there's a lot more countries doing the right things now than they've ever done. You know, there's a lot of countries have got the secret. I mean, there's no secret really. It's out there, but as you say, you know, specific programs building up for events, they might prepare better by, you know, they might go to China, this, that, and the other, they might have a joint training camp with so-and-so, or they might do this, or they might, their physical training, they might do more at a certain
They
time.
have a training centre as opposed to being in a travel lodge. You know,
Yeah. I mean, having a centralised program is something that we haven't got yet, and every other country in the world that's performing has got one. It's mainly down to finance that we haven't got one, but you know, I think it's one of the key things. I mean, having a centralised program doesn't mean you get success. You've got to make sure it works, but you need a centralised program plus a support of players who aren't in the centralised program. Otherwise, it becomes far too elitist, and you know, the whole country falls apart really. You need the Symptoms and all the other clubs, as well as the talent development centres, working incredibly hard, and a centralised programme as well. If you've got that, then you're more in control. The players can do their education, they can have the rest time, and they get quality time and enough time on the table, and they get the support with the strength and conditioning, etc., etc., etc. And they're in an environment that is akin to performance, and the environment is key, because it creates, it's self-motivating, self-perpetuating in what happens. It's there, it becomes the norm. So when we're trying to make sure that all the players are intense, eventually it's the norm. And we see, I mean, there's probably 2 players who haven't been the same as the other players on this camp, and they stick out like sore thumb because we've been successful. We feel we've been successful in our way. We've been successful in creating an environment that is pretty intense, and we need to improve it, but it's pretty intense. And so when a player falters or starts going, it's clear. And we're trying to get the players to understand that everybody knows. It's not just the coaches know and we're having a quiet word with you. All the players know. That Billy here is not trying, or he's tired and he can't take it, or so-and-so sulking. Everybody knows. And we're trying to get that over to the players. It's a little secret, and no one really knows that. I'm not really trying. And I'm only practicing 6 hours a week. No one knows. Of course you do. Of course they don't. I'm not doing the physical training, but no one knows. Of course we do. Everybody knows, and we're trying to get that over to the players. These are the younger players. Trying to get it over to them that we know. So don't think it doesn't really matter, because eventually you'll fall foul of not being good enough. But they don't realise that at the time. So we're trying. Yeah. Sorry. Am I going on?
We are running out a bit of time.
Yeah.
I've got some questions from Twitter to ask you. So all three of you.
I don't go on to it.
So we've only got so many characters. We've only got so many characters. So
Yeah.
I'll have you a short and sweet answer.
Nothing
Nick.
Kurt's
First question: who's the best coach you've ever had, and why? So who wants to go first?
I'll go first. For me, it was my main coach, Carol Moore. I think it was from two angles. One was the environment she set that I came up in. So Nick said there about the norm is to have that intensity and discipline and everything at all. When I first went into Ormsby Table Tennis Club in Teesside, in the old hut, the condition, you look at the hut and it was called the chicken hut. There was nothing to it, but the first thing you got as soon as you walked through the door was what it was all about. There was the discipline, there was the hard work, there was the intensity, and the focus on what we were trying to do. And then secondly, Carol's knowledge and drive to push you as well was second to none. So I felt very lucky to be in that environment and work along with her in terms as a player, but then also when I got into the coaching side and how she worked with me to develop me on the coach as a coach as well.
Shaun?
It's going to sound slightly biased, but I come from a family background who was heavily involved in table tennis. So my grandfather, Derek Marples, was probably one of the most influential coaches for me. Main reason, really knowledgeable. Obviously coached Alan Cook from beginner right through, and he's coached over the national champions as well. Some might say I had no choice, but it was the knowledge. We have a different relationship as a grandfather-grandson, let's put it that way. To others.
Nick?
I've thought about this a lot. I've had sort of three big influences. When I was playing, Alan Ransom for giving me the opportunity and steering me in the right direction. An England coach who taught me how to play against defence when I was 14, a chap called Brian Merritt. He was a national coach, he was an England player, then staff coach and England captain. And Ogi Mura, Japanese. Og E Mura. It's Twitter. Who I went to Japan when I was 18 for 2 months. It changed my philosophy, changed my attitude towards what I needed to do. And he was probably the biggest influence on my international career, I suppose.
Second quick question, and this could be just one of you. How do you stop your coaching becoming repetitive, predictable and boring? Tough question.
You threaten people.
I think it's important to keep reflecting on what you're doing. It's very, and also ask other people, other coaches' opinions as well. Because you can end up getting in a bit of a rut and do the same things over and over again. It's important you keep reviewing what you're doing all the time and ask yourself the questions of, you know, was that a good session? Are the players doing what, getting to where I need them to be? Is it sinking in? And they're sometimes really tough questions to ask yourself, but if you keep doing that on a regular basis and make that part of your coaching habit, you have more chance of keeping your coaching fresh, and in turn that keeps it fresh for your players.
Right, if we end on that then, if we all give them a clap.
Thank you.